Alright guys.
Welcome to Fat Guys.
Welcome to the Fat Guys. Today, we're at Jacob's compound. Today is a day that Jacob's wanted to do we are doing a prime brisket.
Right here's a 19.5 pound USDA prime beef brisket. I was really particular whenever I went to the store to get this, trying to cause us the least amount of work. You can get some that are 20 plus pounds, but then you're cutting off 8 or 9 pounds worth of fat that you're not going to use. I'm not going to pay for that. Jasper, are you going to pay for that?
I'm not going to pay for that.
So, we've got a fairly lean, but not in a bad way, brisket. It looks like our trim work is going to be minimal in regards to how briskets work. We're going to take the decal off here, some of this harder fat back here. And the decal is just the really hard, flavorless fat.
It won't render. It doesn't matter how many hours Jacob cooks this in his smoker or I cook in mine, it won't render.
It's just going to be this hard knot of nothingness. So we're going to go ahead.
You don't want to eat that.
We're going to go ahead and trim it off before we even get started. Kind of shape this thing up a little bit.
We're going to do the trimming of this one. This is a start. This is actually going to be a two-part series here with a prime brisket here. And I'm coming back in a couple weeks with a Wagyu brisket at my house on the egg. We're going to use Jacob's smoker. You've been here with him, with his dad on his compound, but we're going to come and do this brisket on Jacob's smoker tonight. Well, we're going to actually start tonight, and then we come back and we're going to cook it, to start cooking it tomorrow night. He's going to let it set with his seasonings. We're going to do a different, it's not going to be a Texas, don't hate on us for not doing
this is my tried and true method. This is the way that I've ruined many a brisket to come to this point. It's the way that I prefer it. Everyone at work loved it this way. There's nothing wrong if you like to do a Texas style. This is just my personal style on how I like to do it.
We are going to rub it down some with Wagyu fat. We got some from Chicago Packing Company. We did get some Wagyu fat, beef tallow. We're going to inject it with some of the seasonings. So Jacob's going to use some adult beverages to season it with on the inside. Most of that's going to cook out, so don't worry about it. You're not going to get drunk.
All the alcohol content will cook out.
This is going to cook probably in the neighborhood of it being as big as it is. We're looking right at 18 hours.
Probably.
Jacob's going to come in tomorrow, and he's going to show you putting it into the process of putting it in the smoker. And then we'll come back Friday morning. He's going to let it cook all night. Come back Friday morning. We're going to pull it out. We're going to let it rest for 2-3 hours. Slice it. It's going to be like butter. Jacob's really good at this. We both will openly admit that we have ruined our fair share.
I've made some where it would taste better if you go lick the asphalt in front of your road. Would have more seasoning.
Yes, unfortunately, we have ruined large pieces of meat. This is not something that I'm going to tell a new person that's just bought a new smoker to go do.
This is definitely something you build up to.
You build yourself up to this over time. Do use some pork butts. Pork butts are very forgiving. Chicken is very forgiving.
Smoked bologna.
Bologna. Work your way up. Get good at some of those and know what it feels like before you do this. Because, guys, this was a $100 piece of meat. It's a lot of money to go spend on one piece of meat and then go and earn it.
Right.
We don't want you all to do that. We want you to enjoy it.
Whenever you feel comfortable, you can come back to this video and you'll have a go-to method on where to start. Even if you don't like my seasoning method, it'll show you, trimming tips. We're not competition cookers, so we're not going to trim all the way to a competition style.
This is backyard feed your family cook.
Right.
That's the way I would call this.
Yes.
You, Jacob?
Yes.
We don't competition cook for anything. We feed families. We feed friends. We enjoy. We don't competition. Even our pork butts.
I don't really care how aerodynamic it looks and how sleek it looks. This isn't NASA. This isn't NASCAR.
We're going to eat this. I mean, it's going to
We're feeding multiple people. So presentations, as long as it doesn't look like trash, presentation really doesn't matter. So this episode will be a little bit longer because, again, we're using a huge chunk of meat.
There's a lot of trimming here. Even with bare minimum trimming, there is going to be a lot of silver skin, a lot of decal fat you got to cut out. Without delaying any further, Jacob, cut her open.
Cut this open. First thing you're going to want to know is you're going to need a good sharp knife. I spent the better part of 2 hours getting my knife where I wanted it to be the other day with a good old whetstone. If you're ever interested in learning how to sharpen with a whetstone or a series of whetstones, definitely drop a comment. We'll be more than glad to make a short video. So, without further ado, let's get this thing started. And not cut my hand open.
Guys, and it also is easier to cut this fat when it is cold. Don't do this on a room temperature brisket. Jacob's had this in the cooler. He bought it earlier in the week. This is on Wednesday night.
I bought it Monday. This is now Wednesday. It's been in my meat fridge, which is colder, significantly colder than you keep your normal fridge.
Guys, this will make a sort of a mess. Jacob's going to take it off, and I'm going to take the plastic. So
everything's been pre-cleaned and disinfected.
Jacob, he'll just lift it up, and I'll take the plastic. Okay, there we go.
Okay, so we're going to start with trimming off all this unnecessary fat. Now, you're not going to want to lose your meat, so definitely watch how you're cutting small sections. The last one I did, my brother, Caleb, he wanted to learn how to do this, so we sit down together. And if you're not comfortable with cutting big old chunks all the time, take it slow. Take it, a small chunk at a time until you get down to where you need. It never hurts to play it safe. You don't want to waste a lot of meat. This decal's a little tough.
Another way you can do also is put one hand under the brisket and pick it up and angle it a little bit away from you. Guys, Jacob doing something that I don't recommend, especially for people that is not comfortable. Jacob is very comfortable with knives. He's cutting towards him at times. I recommend cutting away, but make sure that you're doing it safe. That is a very hard fat. Actually, that muscle separates 2 points on this brisket. There's a flat, there's a point. And that decal muscle will go all the way through that brisket. And it separates that flat and that point, which is 2 different cuts of meat, but you get it all on this one slice of brisket here. The flat you make little sandwiches with, you make good barbecue with. You can make burn-ins with the brisket point. You can still make sandwiches with the point too. I love the point. I think mine will be a little bit, it won't be complete Texas style, but it'll be a closer Texas than what we are with Jacob. I am going to inject mine with some fluids also. I believe he's going to spritz this every once in a while with some beef consomme, or actually a beef stock.
Yeah, a beef stock. I'll definitely be about once every hour to hour and a half for the first half of the cook. I'm going to go ahead and spritz it with a beef stock in a spray bottle.
Jacob has begged all summer. You might be washed out a little bit, David. Jacob, you're good.
Okay, guys, we're back. We've trimmed off all the decal fat. This is about how much we've cut out. We trimmed up everything that we were going to lose. We're just going to use it for something else. This was really thin. Would have dried out and been almost inedible by the time we were done. So we went ahead and cut it so we didn't lose it. We'll just make it into other stuff.
What do you think about doing with that fat there right there, Jacob?
I'm thinking with the fat, you made the great suggestion of making our own tallow, and I think you're right. I don't know.
Slowly rendering it down, making our own pure tallow.
Yeah, I think that'll be the way to go. So we're going to start with our marinade, is what we've made for the outside, partially for the outside. So what I've done is I've got my handy dandy mortar and pestle back out because that's what I love. I've already pre-made mine. Mine's going to be, I believe there was 8 cloves of garlic, 7 cloves because I missed one. I'll probably put about a tablespoon of black peppercorns.
Now that was whole peppercorns.
That's whole peppercorns, if you can see in there.
Here you go, Jake.
And then I'll put about 2.5 tablespoons of pink salt. Why pink salt? Because it's on hand. And then Kinder's Butter Steakhouse Rub. I had about a tablespoon of it. Now I stuck all those dry ingredients in there and grinded it down till it was a paste. And then I took a ye old adult beverage, some Mandarin vodka, not for the flavor but more for the alcohol content. It's going to cause the tissue to break down as it sits overnight. Since we're not doing a super long like wet age, I don't have to worry about it burning the meat. And when I say burning the meat, I mean breaking it down to a point where it's just not edible. So I stuck that in there just for that purpose and for the little hints of orange that it's going to give me. We've also got our handy dandy injector, which we'll be using for the beef tallow to stick it on the inside. I'm going to go ahead and do the outside first. So I've get my pestle out, my war-wounded pestle. And then I've got me just a fancy, I think this was a Betty Crocker.
Whatever works.
Basting brush. I got this years ago whenever they come with, I can't remember what it come in. It come in a box of something that I bought. So I'm just going to stick it on there pretty thick.
Notice he is not using any binder.
This is actually going to be my binder.
That will be his binder. You don't have to, I know a lot of people use mustard slather, olive oil. I've seen some use Worcestershire
Oh, there's also
sauce.
olive oil in this. I forgot to say that. Thank you for saying that. That was probably 2 tablespoons of olive oil in my wet mix.
And they'll use it to bind. That's what this is doing. It's going to bind more to it here. And also the injection, if you inject it like Jacob's going to do with his beef tallow and stuff, it will also use as a binder. I'm going to come up close to you, Jacob, let him see some of these peppercorns and stuff on this grind. Look at that.
Now, I'll tell you the reason, Jasper, why I like wet marinating my brisket, even though I'm probably the only person that does, is I'm so used to Spanish cooking. And a lot of our recipes are wet marinades and stuff like that. So for me, it was only natural to make the jump from the way I normally cook the food that I eat to brisket, and so far I haven't had any complaints. Now I'm going to go heavy right here, that decal spot we cut out earlier. I want to go really heavy on this end in here, just because I want this end to get a lot of flavor.
That's between that point and that flat muscle right there. And as this cooks, guys, as it warms up and starts to cook, it's also going to go in. Through the night, that meat will draw it in.
It'll penetrate.
And go in. I don't know, Jake, that rub, that marinade smells really... I keep calling it rub, but it's actually more of a marinade versus a rub.
It's got the aroma to it.
It smells awesome.
I probably could have made more.
Once again, guys, we appreciate you for watching Fat Guy's Barbecue. As he's rubbing this down, it's a good point to stop and say, don't forget to give us a like, share, subscribe, comment. Guys, we're not sure when this video will actually air. We're trying to get ahead. It's going to be, well, we're coming into the cold months.
So we're trying to get the surplus stocked ahead.
But we'll know, if you ask questions, we'll know what we've done. We'll do anything we can to help you.
Yeah.
Alright guys, I've come in here for Jacob and I'm going to do some injection of some tallow here. We've took some of that tallow I showed you earlier, heated it up in the microwave, and we're just going to inject, whoa! You can see it, is it? We're not going to go and fill it everywhere like we would a pork butt, but we're going to get several injection points here. Get some beef fat down in here and some tallow. You'll see it, you'll be able to see it popping up there. All this tallow is going to do is going to render down in the cook. What you do with that
Base brush?
basting brush
Hold
there,
on
Jacob?
1 second and I'll get it for you.
All I'm going to do is just rub some of this tallow that we've warmed up on the surface. You can see it's where it meets cold, it's already re-solidifying. It's just going to add some flavor there. What little bit we got left in here, we're going to come in here and rub it here. Just rub it down real good. You can see the pan's got it already on it here. Finish it out there. Just adding a little bit. It's like I said, it's going to render while it cooks. There we go. So we've used almost a cup of tallow on here. We're going to let it sit in the cooler or Jacob's meat refrigerator. Like I said, it's significantly colder than most normal refrigerators. I mean, it's not a freezer, but it's colder. And then he'll come in tomorrow night and he'll put this in a...
Tomorrow I'll take it out about 45 minutes to an hour before I cook it, and then I'll dust it real good with a rub on the outside just to give us more flavor and to kind of let that temp slowly rise up a little bit while it's out. And then we'll stick her in the smoker and go from there.
About anywhere from, I'm going to say this size, we're looking anywhere from 12 to 16 hours.
Yeah.
So we'll go from there.
Alright guys, we're back. It's been 24 hours since our last little clip. As you can see, everything's absorbed in there really well. We're going to go ahead and lay our rubs on there. My first layer is going to be Kinder's Buttery Steakhouse. You're just going to lay that on there. Kind of thick. and get it all over everything. I've already done the reverse side, so y'all don't have to sit through that whole portion. So you're gonna make sure that you get all your edges as well. Generally, I can't do it now on camera because then you need 2 hands. Use one hand to kind of bridge and pour and throw it on your edges. I'll do that off camera after I get the top of this done. So you can see that it's already starting to tack up a little bit in areas. So a little bit more right there, it's a little bald spot. But you're just going to kind of push that in a little bit. You just want it to stick. Then you're going to come back through with your other, whatever other rubs you want. This other one's going to be Cattleman's Grill Steakhouse. You're going to come through and coat it pretty heavily as well. One a little heavy there, we'll kind of spread it out a little bit. Alright, so I want to go ahead and put the rub on my edges, and then we will come back here shortly as we're throwing it in the smoker. So we're back. You'll have to excuse the lighting. The sun's already went down. Get a flashlight going. So we've got the brisket seasoned up. We've got our smoker set. It's preheating to 250 right now. I'm going to cut it down here in just a second. So we're going to go ahead and stick it in fat cap up or fat side up. As you can tell, this thing is longer than my smoker is wide, so we're actually going to bend it and kind of make it just curve. That's how it's going to sit in there. It's just going to just curve on the edges. It'll draw up some as it cooks. So let's stick this thing in there. There you go, it's laying in there. I got my probe in. I got my little catch pan underneath. We're gonna put chips in it every hour and a half just to keep it going. And then we're gonna spritz it every hour and a half as well. I'll give you updates throughout the night. Alright guys, we're back. 15 hours, we're finally done. It looks great. Tell us what you think about your brisket.
It tastes better than it looks, and it looks good.
Is it nice and juicy?
It's nice and juicy.
Jasper?
I just had a sample of it.
Great.
Guys, it's got a real good flavor. That Wagyu beef fat that we've injected in it kept it moist. It's really, really, really moist.
Really, really moist.
Really tender. That's like 15 hours in the smoke. I said between 15 and 18 the other night. We rubbed it down with Jacob's marinade from his Spanish marinade that he used his mortar and pestle with garlic, Marinade vodka, salt, pepper, fresh peppercorns, and then a little bit of olive oil, and then that Wagyu beef fat.
I think that's the best brisket I've ever eaten.
Alright.
I'm just saying that. I mean it.
That's a third party. This is Jacob's guy that does his yard.
Tell everybody your name.
Larry McGee.
Larry McGee. He asked me, was it last week? He's like, can you do me a brisket? 2 weeks ago, that's right, 2 weeks ago. Said, I want to do a brisket. So we found him one.
And that's the competition. That's the backyard cook. Like I said, we're not competition cooks. We're here to eat. And is that
yeah, very.
That's an edible brisket. That feeds families, guys. That's what we're here for. Guys, we're not here to showboat our cooks. We're here to eat. Guys, we hope you enjoy this episode. And once again,
That you can do.
Larry, hope you enjoy your brisket.
Very much will.
And
There'll
guys,
be a lot of people happy tonight.
enjoy the show. Enjoy the episode. Guys, we want to thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. Also, we need to give a shout out to reminder of our supporters of
My91shop.com.
My91shop.com. Thank you for the support that they give us telecommunicators. Guys, we want to say thank you for watching the
Fat Guys Barbecue.
Put it in a skillet to heat it back up. Just long enough to get it warmed up.